first Sunday of Advent. Today in class, a student asked, what is the difference spiritually between adventure and risk-taking? It's a very good question. And it really depends on the personality, of course. For some people, risking is taking one step. For adventurous people, depending, might be running or jumping. I think the answer that we came to was adventure is prudently moving outside of your comfort. Our readings are powerfully frightening in a way. I say this with a tongue-in-cheek and a little humor, but if you read the first part of the gospel, it's very similar to what the politicians were saying at our recent presidential election. This is happening, this is going to happen, everything's terrible. So if you're like me, things are going to get better. And the other side, now that that person was elected, the other side say, now you're going to see the signs. Now it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket. It's fear. But that's not what the readings are about, actually. Something is coming, but something is coming that's already here. I had a very, very deeply Irish grandfather, Charlie O'Connor, and I loved him. And we would go to his house, where he and his wife lived. Their oldest daughter was my mother, and he would convince us when we were little of the wee people, not brownies, but wee people, and they belonged to the Irish. And all of a sudden, he would say, "Did you see him?" And we'd look where he pointed, and he might say that 4 or 5 times an evening, and he'd be looking off, and then we would see him. We would see maybe the back of their heel going behind the sliding door or going out the window. You just saw a little bit of it. They were here, but they didn't want to be seen. They were escaping. But we were watching, and we learned to watch, especially in the presence of Charlie O'Connor, because we might miss him. He saw him, and he wanted us to see him. He was Irish. Advent. What is coming is already here. And maybe I've said this before, but God doesn't decide to do this or do that. God doesn't decide anything, actually, because God is love, and God does what love does. Reveal itself. Yes, reveal itself. But it's not that God is coming. We're celebrating that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came to the earth and stays with us in his body. His body, ours. So what's coming? Maybe it's the adventure, not the recklessness, but maybe it's the adventure of finding out what comfort prevents his being present. He's not coming. He's already there. What comfort do I take to make sure I don't have to trust God's presence? Maybe what's coming is I'm coming to myself. Maybe I'm coming to my awareness. Now Jesus says there's going to be signs in the sun and the moon and the ocean. There's going to be signs. Fearful. But there are signs in our lives, I think, of how turbulation and tribulation sounds. We can not be comfortable unless we have this or have that. And God wants to be available. I said, love reveals itself. What does love do? Love doesn't decide to love. Love loves. We decide to love, or not love. God cannot decide not to be God. So what he invites us to do is come to the awareness of what causes me tribulation. What prevents me from letting go of comfort and trust and walk into my future, his future? It's not reckless. It's creative. If I stay on the shelf, we call it shelfishness. If I stay on the shelf, secure, comfortable, I'm not having an Advent. I'm not coming to the awareness of myself that if I don't do some adventure, I will live recklessly. Actually, recklessly, I will wreck my spirit. We are preparing to celebrate the birth of Jesus, who lived the adventure of his being himself. And he turns to us and says, come and live the adventure of who you really are. The adventure of not devoting yourself to the comfortable shelf, but the adventurous self. And then in a way, live self-fully, full of the love self you are. Take the next step to see, does God care? Is God with me? Yes. But if I'm on the shelf, I can't see it. I'm too surrounded by what makes me comfortable. It's always an invitation to the adventure of my really being who I really am, a child of God. Not surrounded by artificial, but real me, real trusting me, real cared for by God. Otherwise, the turbulence, the tumult will frighten me. And the adventure will wait for another day. It's the first Sunday of invitation to be aware of the God who is coming not for the first time, but for the next time. that I am available to receive his invitation to adventure. Adventure.